Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from today. I'm so delighted that you are able to join us for today's show. Today's show promises to be very powerful and insight-filled conversation. I'm Comfort Eyitayo, your regular host on Connect with Comfort show. On this program, we aim to add value to people on business, enterprise, and personal growth. Each show is organized to feature a special guest who helps us to share more insights on the topic of the day. We are so glad to have you. Today's conversation is one that is every serious business leader needs right now. Our topic is cash flow, customers, and capacity. The three pillars of business stability this year. In an environment shaped by inflation, currency pressures, and policy shifts, often influenced by institutions such as International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, stability has become more important than expansion. Growth is exciting, as we all know, but stability is very strategic. If the past few years have taught us anything, is this: revenue alone does not guarantee survival. It may sound odd, but it's true. Growth does not equal stability, and activity does not mean progress. Some businesses are busy but bleeding cash. Some have customers but cannot deliver consistently. Some have skills but no paying markets. So today, we are going to break down the three pillars that truly determine whether a business stands firm or collapses under pressure. The three pillars we are examining today are: one, cash flow, which we call the oxygen of business; two, customers, the lifeblood of revenue; and three, capacity, the strength to deliver and scale. By the end of this session, we hope you'll be able to assess your own business or the businesses you advise on against these three pillars and identify exactly where reinforcement is needed. We already have our special guest for today's topic in the house, waiting patiently for us to beckon on her. This we shall do very shortly after this time out. Please remain connected. We'll be right back. You are welcome once again. Thank you.
Five, four, three,
welcome back. I am delighted to welcome our special guest for today. Like I said shortly before the break time, she's already in the house waiting for us to beckon on her. That I will do in a short while after letting us know who our guest is. Our special guest for today is no other than Mrs. Bukunola Akinmoladun. Buki is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, and Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, with over 3 decades of experience in accounting, consulting, and tax advisory. She trained with the firm Ernst and Young and has held leadership roles across academia, manufacturing, engineering, and the oil and gas sector. A respected tax and financial accounting specialist, she has advised numerous organizations on technical and compliance matters, and currently the pioneer partner at BMO and Co. Chartered Accountants. She is also an MBA graduate of University of Lagos and a member of the Governing Council of Lagos Business School. Buki is an author and a passionate mentor dedicated to building strong businesses and developing future professionals. Please join me in warmly welcoming our special guest for today, Mrs. Bukunola Akinmoladun. Buki, you are most welcome. We thank you for joining us today. Do not take it for granted. We feel highly honored to have you. You are welcome.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I feel truly honored and privileged to be on the show tonight. I do not take it for granted at all. If there's one thing I am passionate about, it's sharing my thoughts, sharing knowledge, and so it's really a privilege for me. And being the first day in this month of March, I believe that God has a lot in store for all of us.
March.
Thank you, ma.
Wish each other a happy new month.
Happy new month, yes, ma'am.
Happy, blessed new month. Thank you very much. You are welcome. So we go quickly into our interview segment by asking, looking at many businesses that appear busy, revenue is coming in, customers are active, yet they are financially fragile. In your own experience, what is the most misunderstood factor that determines whether a business survives or collapses?
Thank you, ma'am, and once again. In my view, one factor that determines whether a business collapses or survives is finance. And I will put it this way: when we say finance, we don't necessarily mean the cash, because sometimes businesses make profits, yet they are on the verge of collapsing. Okay, so finance, the management of it is very critical. We have said there are three pillars of business stability. Number one is cash flow. Number two is the customer and the capacity. Oftentimes, people misunderstand these factors, and they feel one cannot go without the other, if I may say. So ability to put all of those together will determine how long or how far an organization will go. That's the management of it. Understanding of cash flow, the importance that the role that each of them plays in business survival and sustainability is very important.
Fantastic. Okay, that is well said because it ties in with the introduction, and you have been able to distinguish between just talking of finance as in terms of cash, but management of it, management of the fund. So if we are shifting from growth at all costs, which the earlier example painted, to stability first, let's break this into 3 pillars now. And we are looking at the first pillar, which is the cash flow. We often hear that profit is important, but experienced leaders say cash flow is oxygen. So why do profitable businesses still collapse?
Very wonderful. Businesses collapse even if they are profitable when the cash flow is not matching up with the requirements of the business. I'll give an example. We talk about debt equity ratio. You look at cash flow ratio, you look at the business cycle. Okay, if a business is into credits, providing credits, and though the business may be profitable, but when the debts and the need to pay interest overshadows the businesses that is coming, it wipes off the profit. So every business must be able to manage the debt and the equity. When the debt is too much, there will be definitely the interest that is payable on loans and on debts will ultimately swallow up the profits that the company is making. That's one. Number two, where a company is unable to discipline itself and manage separating business income from private expenditure, that company may ultimately collapse. Number three, where a company pays out more than it allows its creditors, debtors to take on, that's not matching up. Ultimately, such a business may collapse. I like to stop there first.
It's like we are having challenges with the network. It's breaking. But if I can just summarize what you have said, ultimately it's pinned on cash flow management. Even though business can be profitable, can still collapse without good cash flow management. And you have gone to give an example of debt ratio and saying maybe companies pay or businesses paying out more than they are receiving. So that is all under the cash flow management. Thank you very much. I just hope this network would give us respite. Now, how can SMEs, in view of what we have just said, build predictable cash flow? since we have seen how important this management of cash flow is.
Again, one key challenge that most SMEs have is record keeping. So without record keeping, there will be no historical facts. And like they say, you are likely to repeat the errors of the past when you have no history to depend on. Now, when a company is in the habit of documenting all its transactions, all its transactions, okay, it will be easier for such an organization or SMEs, as we may call them, to determine how much of her debts are outside, and be able to understand the cycle, the entire cycle of the business. How long does it take an average debtor to pay, and how long does it take an average creditor to make demands? If a business gives out credits to her customers and is not taking credits from her suppliers, ultimately, and it's not documented, that company will be unable to plan cash flow predictably.
Okay. I don't know, maybe you want to change the positioning of the internet.
Wow.
It's really breaking badly. But if I can summarize what I think I hear you say, is that the small businesses like SMEs need to have good record for them to be able to predict cash flow reasonably, because it is from the records of inflows and outflows that they will be able to realize and be able to predict the level of their cash flow, both on what they have currently, what is needed to manage the business successfully, and perhaps upscale. So record keeping is very important, and I think this is one area that has been identified that small businesses sometimes either lack competence or be slack about. So it is very important to advise SMEs to have good record keeping. So that being said, what are the early signs of liquidity stress? What are the early signs that we are having liquidity challenge?
The very first, am I being heard now?
Wow.
Hello, ma.
Did you get that question?
Yes, I got the question. Very well.
Okay.
So the early signs of
So what's
liquidity challenge? Yes, my response would be that when the company is number one, the first sign is usually most organizations begin to delay on payment of salaries. Okay, then they begin to load shed. They begin to rationalize. Yes, with all their obligations. So and then we know that what's coming in on a regular basis is lower significantly to what they have to pay, their obligations. So that's a serious one. And by the time you look at the balance sheets, as we call it, of statement of financial position, we also observe that such a company may begin to have negative net assets. That means, for the case of this purpose of those who may not understand what you mean by negative asset, it means that the liabilities are more than the asset of the company. So even if you sold everything, the company will still be in debt. That's a serious.
That would be the ultimate. But the warnings, the early warning signs is what you have said, that when businesses are not able to meet their obligations
as I went to
timely, because they may meet them eventually, but as at when due, including employees' salaries. Like you said, you start rationalizing the payable and things like that.
Delay this one for that time.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So, looking still at the liquidity and early warning signs, like how many months of operating reserve would you typically advise? That okay, for a business to be seen to be stable, you must have a certain level of revenue reserve, maybe in terms of some revenue that will cover you up to 2 months, 3 months, something like that.
Well, in my own opinion, it could be topical in the sense that I believe that organizations should know their cycle, okay? And this will depend on the cycle. Where a company has a 30 days business cycle, well, for those who deal in inventory, okay? I know you have a 30 days business cycle, so you will need to have minimum of 90 days flow, because before the money comes in, it could be. So I would say typically a company should have not less than 6 months minimum.
So you have to have enough to cover you for 6 months.
For 6 months,
to
yes.
Make sure that you are able to weather the storm.
The storm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable. So we must be looking at our revenue reserve. That's at least something to cushion us
till
we are able to, before we are able to get back on track. About 6 months revenue reserve.
Revenue.
When you put all together, yeah. So what working capital habits, because all this that we have been talking about is geared towards part of our working capital. So what working capital habits should founders develop?
Working capital habits. Number one, documentation is number one. You can't develop a habit of maintaining something without having your history. So you understand your flow. And you must also make good use of capital. I mean, of debts, especially. Oh, thank you, sir. All right. So especially with vendors. So you must also be able to get some, take more of credit, all right, than what you give out. What do I mean by that? When you are taking in vendors, also negotiate payment terms with them so that you can have a buffer. There are some transactions that you may not be able to take credits for, but as much as you can, take credits and make good use of it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Kola Olaito, for letting us know that the guest is audible. Thanks for that feedback. So we are looking at part of the habits that founders need to have, which our guest has told us, documentation. So this issue of documentation is a recurring decimal for us in terms of importance. And then we also need to look at how we do maybe the ratio of indebtedness. So the credit line that you are going to give vis-a-vis the credit line you are given by your supplier, you need to really align the two, because that of your supplier should not be shorter than the one you give to your customers. That is very, very important. And we should make sure we balance our this thing, indebtedness in such a way that we are not overgeared. We are not
Yes.
we are not running
Taking too
into
much,
trouble. um
exactly, that makes you pay interest. Yeah.
Indebtedness beyond what our revenue can sustain, because all this will have a backlash on our working capital.
Capital.
So we say this for the benefit of our client, of our online audience rather. Online audience. Another way you can also check on your businesses is to imagine, for a start, what if revenue stop coming for 2 months, 60 days for instance. What will be the situation with your business? Will it survive? Will it tumble? Will it be shaky or thrown into pandemonium? Those are the litmus tests
Shock
you can
absorbers.
apply to your, yes, that you can apply to your own businesses in line with what we're discussing. So you must be able to look internally and look at it. What period of cover do I need? This is actually letting us know how we can determine stability. We talked about strengthening cash flow and all that. That is very important. So let's now move to the second pillar. As we have identified, the second pillar is customers. Some businesses rely heavily on one or two major customers or clients in terms of professionals or those who offer services. Others are constantly chasing new customers but struggling with retention. From your own perspective, what creates customer stability? Can you hear me? It's like our guest is temporarily locked out. So let me appreciate while we're waiting for our guest to log back in. Appreciate those who have joined us. Mr. Kola Olaitan from streaming from Lagos, Mrs. Taiwo Adeola Ojo streaming from Abuja. You are most welcome. Thanks for joining. Trying to reach the guest because she seems to have been locked out. In the meantime, we can take a comment from our online audience or even question on the bit we have done. I think it's to do with the internet. Okay, let me fill in before. Okay, can you hear? Our guest is in, but I don't seem to see you. Can you hear the question? Can you hear me? happens sometimes. This internet of a thing. Okay. In the meantime, let me just fill in for our guest until she's able to come back. We are on the question of how customers. Okay, what determines stability of customer. Okay, on one hand, we have looked at the scenario where some people rely on one or two customers, and like I said, it can either customer, it can be clients as well. In as much as it's good to have a major customer that's able to give you enough revenue to pay the bills and do all what you. The danger in is the reliance on such customers alone, because God forbid if anything happens, your business will be down, if not out. So it will be advisable to start looking at growing uh, your customer base, in as much as it is also necessary for you to have a retention plan to make sure that you do not lose your major customers. But sometimes it may be inevitable for so many reasons. So it's advisable that you try not to, like we say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You try not to rely too much on one key customer. Just like it's also not advisable to rely on one key employee, because your survival, the sustainability of your business will depend largely on that key customer or employee, as the case may be. That is on one hand. In and the other scenario we painted, we have those that are constantly chasing new customers without putting the the strategy in place to sustain or keep old customers. And like the saying goes, a bird in hand is worth more than two or three in the bush. If you are just poised to be chasing after customer and you are not giving to strategy that will help you to retain them, then easy come, easy go, and you cannot use that to plan. Stability cannot be ensured because you do not have a steady business that you can actually plan on. So even though as much as possible, you don't rely on one customer, but at least try and put a strategy in place that any customer you have enough strategy to retain them, encourage them, and they in return can even serve as a referral source for you to get new customers. If you are able to keep them happy and they are happy with you, of their own, they will promote your business. So there's sense, every sense in trying to make sure that we do not just chase after customers alone. We try to see how we can retain old hands. The other question, I'm just hoping that our guest will come in. She told me she's in, but I can't see her. And I don't know if she's hearing me. I'm still not able to hear her. Please, just in case you are hearing me, can you log out and log in again? Because sometimes the internet can just freeze up. Okay, she's the one calling. Okay.
I have to log out like you said, but I'm listening. And you're not hearing me.
Yeah, I can't hear you. I cannot even see you. So log in like you are logging in afresh. Please do that so that we can see you and then you'll be able to respond. Thank you. So, like I said, the other question that relates closely to the one I've just treated is examining how dangerous it is to have customer concentration in an indirect way of putting it, customer concentration risk. This is similar to that risk is similar to the risk of depending on one customer, on one major customer. If your customers are concentrated in one area, if you are unfortunate that you displease one of them, it's just a matter of words of mouth, and they can undermine your business interest. So you do not have your rely on customers that are concentrated in one area alone. That's almost similar, although a bit different, but effect wise is almost similar to having just one major customer. Then with that, should we now look at businesses? How do you prioritize retention over acquisition this year? We have given the reason why retention is very important. It provides for stability of business. If you have a customer that is been with you for some time, you can actually predict the pattern of their patronage. You can easily get them to help you to identify areas that you need to improve, because somebody who's been with you can, okay, you are welcome back,
Thank you.
our guest, welcome back. So I'm asking a question that how can leaders, well, no, let's take the one I'm just treating now. Should businesses prioritize retention over acquisition this year? That is retention of customers over acquisition of new ones.
And I would say it depends
Okay.
on where the client, where the business is at the moment. Like you were also saying that over reliance on certain number or certain clients is also dangerous for any business. Okay, so and if the company, the organization has been able to satisfy the current clientele and they have the capacity, of course, you can always borrow capacity. You can always buy capacity. Okay, so there's nothing that says the company should not go ahead and try to acquire um, more customers or clients as it may be. But the company must also weigh its capacity, its strength, and vis-a-vis number of clients that he has. Otherwise, the organization risks losing even the current one, because again, if you not have sufficient capacity and you acquire more clients and you don't know how to manage what you already have, then
You can now
it runs the risk of
end up
losing.
dissatisfying all of them.
Exactly.
That is very
Yeah.
key. You must have the capacity. That is actually in trying to scale. When we want to grow, our scaling ability must be examined very well so that we don't end up burning our fingers in the end,
Yeah.
and then even losing the loyalty of the existing customers. It is nice to want
It
to
also
grow. It's very exciting, but we must have the capability, like our guest said, to be able to take that on. So it's very important, and we cannot afford to lose the loyal customers that it's like I was saying, a bird in hand is better than two in the bushes.
turn in the bush. Yeah.
So
important.
that it is on that scale. Yes, it's good to aspire to grow, to scale up, but you must also match it with capability. So strategies must be done. Now, how can leaders identify profitable versus unprofitable customers?
Again, I'll go back to the mine. They say my one thing song, bookkeeping, record keeping. Record keeping gives us historical facts. All right. People will say accountants are being accountants, but then that is how we can build our strategies. If we don't understand where we failed, we most likely will repeat what made us fail. Now, if you want to know a business that is profitable, you also understand one thing. As a business, as a service provider, how long does it take you to service that particular client vis-a-vis the revenue you
Particular client,
generate
yeah.
from the clients? Okay, some of us will take a particular amount from company A, and we think it's a lot of money. But by the time we look at the stress, the effort that we have to put to satisfy such a customer, we can discover in the end that it's actually not very profitable. So, but if we don't keep record and keep track of our revenue and and other transactions, we might not be able to know. We just realize, oh, money is coming in. You know, for those who sell
That is very
products,
true. That is very correct.
they
We
see the
can be
money in their
deceived.
account,
Yeah, we can be deceived about the amount,
an amount.
the
Yeah,
size, the size of the, but what you have to give to earn that money, you need to balance it. Otherwise, you may be doing much more. At the end of the day, you may be making a loss because you
at
still
a
have to
loss.
pay staff and all that. Okay, that's very good. So, in inflationary period, how should pricing conversation be handled?
Hmm. In inflation, there are so many factors that need to be considered actually. During inflation, everybody has a tendency to want to increase their prices.
So, we are talking about pricing.
Pricing, yeah, that's something. You have to look at a balance, you have to balance it up. Okay. You have obligations as a business, you have obligations. Your costs are increasing. But if you increase what state are you in your business? And how would your client, how do you understand your clients? How would they respond to your increase in your price, the increase in your price? Okay. If you're still making, if there are some people there are some businesses that we call keepsake or loss leaders. They're just there for certain reasons. You are probably not making profit doing those jobs, but it keeps you from being over reliant on other businesses. Okay, so if you are at very good, you have very good situation with your clients, it might be easier for you if you have found goodwill, if you have the goodwill to increase based on the inflation. It has to be with a lot of understanding and I would say trusting your clients. I mean, sometimes we've had some losses. We've had some clients that we thought, oh, um, the inflation is high, and so we need to change our prices. Okay, and it had worked for us in some areas, and we've lost in some other areas. And the client feels, oh, I'm already paying more than enough. So why are you trying to increase it? Okay, and they try to search other areas, and they can't find something cheaper than yours. So if you are not very sure of your clientele, then I would say take it easy. Don't try to jump based on what the economy is saying. Maybe you might have to also change your own strategy or your cost strategy and not your pricing strategy.
Yeah, that is very instructive. When we are talking of perhaps okay, inflation is eroding our
A
pricing,
profit.
the value we are bringing in. Sometimes the cost aspect can also be looked into. That's a very good one. I think I will even recommend that one to be done first. as a strategy rather than just go straight to
Increasing
price,
your prices, yes.
yes, because you do not want to lose your customers, like we have said in previous question. You do not really want to lose loyal customers. They are very hard to come by, and they have their usefulness. Like I said, they can become your source of referral because they've
Exactly.
tried you and tested you, and they are comfortable freely. They will be making reference, giving reference for you. So you need to balance it. But where all else has failed, you have done everything. You will definitely need to have conversation. An open conversation will help, and trying to make the right justification for their understanding, so that they will understand the need to have a review in price, and you can both discuss it openly and come to the middle point, not necessarily you just handing it over down to them. This is an increment in our services or our product, without looking at what obtains generally in the market, and without taking them into confidence. All these
Discussion,
little
yeah.
little also matter. Relationship management matters a lot. You find some people willing to pay more when they are comfortable with you, and they are able to reason along with you, than just to say no, I'll go and try somewhere else. So that's another thing we need to be very mindful of. We've discussed extensively. This is about the stability that we are talking about. Now let's look at the third pillar because of time. Let's look at the third pillar quickly. The third pillar is talking about capacity. We have even mentioned something in that line when we are talking about scaling. You do not, businesses sometimes grow quickly, like we have talked about, and then collapses under the weight of their own growth. So what does capacity really mean beyond just hiring more staff? We need to take this quickly because the time is fast spent, and we need to cover this.
Yes. Capacity means matching your uh, your capital or human capital, your time, your efforts and energy on what needs to be done in servicing your clients. Okay, capacity, in my overview, would look at your competence, look at your the energy, you will look at the resources available. You look at your skill sets. Okay, what do you have? How ready? What's your readiness to to do the work that you need to do? The capacity in terms of leadership structure, your operational processes, what technology do you have, and the like I said, the skills, competence, and the human resources do you have. You have to weigh all of those ones to determine that, to ensure that they can match the level of work that you have currently. Sometimes it's easier. You can have the in-house capacity. While you don't have in-house capacity, it might be wiser and cheaper to outsource, because if the requirements of the current client or the incoming client um, is such that you don't have the internal capacity, you then weigh it. Is this something that come in often? If it's not something that will be coming in often, it might be the best thing, the solution for you, situation for you to just outsource that point, or to have what we call collaboration. I always say you can buy capacity. You can even have competence
Thank you
if you
very
have the
much.
right
That's
customer.
yes. Collaboration is very key where you lack the capacity, and gradually you can build capacity in house. You can have a star or
Excellent
key employee
capacity.
training the others and all that. And then collaboration is cheaper. Outsourcing is also in some cases cheaper than trying to reinvent the wheel. But there are some people that are experts in that area. So we'll quickly take this because I'm mindful of time. The internet has not helped us today. Excuse me. I sometimes find interest, we are talking of 3 pillars. And I now look at them, how interconnected these 3 pillars are. We talked about having weak cash flow, creating panic. Panic can in turn damage customer relationship. When we have damaged customer relationship, it can result into customer loss, which means reduction in revenue. So you see
Revenue.
how interconnected they are. So revenue pressures can overwhelm capacity. If you don't have revenue, you cannot trade, you cannot expand. So in your view, which pillar typically breaks first in struggling businesses? Which of these 3 pillars break first? Just in 1 minute. Just
In
look
1 minute, I would say the first thing you should look for is your customers. Now,
Is
customers
that the
is,
pillar that
no
will
matter,
break first?
pardon? You must have what you're selling. You must have who you're selling to. If you don't understand your customers, you don't have anything to sell. But when you have the
No,
customer,
I
it's easier
understand. I'm
to,
saying looking at
yes.
them on their own. We talk of cash flow, we talk of customer, we talk of capacity. They are the 3 pillars we are considering. Which one break first? When you say a business is struggling, which of
Yeah.
those 3 pillars break first?
Well, I'll say anytime, see, the customer is number one. And I will explain it. If you
Yeah,
have
but
customers
you
and you
don't
have
think
the right
cash,
attitude,
you don't think cash flow, because
cash flow is
before you can
good.
even go to the extent of having customer, you have to have cash flow to run the business to the extent of having customer.
It depends. If number one,
They are all
if I have something to
interconnected.
sell, are
Pardon?
interconnected, but I will still say that one is easier to outsource than the other. If I
No, we
have
are not
cash
talking of
flow,
outsourcing now. We are not
I'm not
talking
talking
of
about, yes.
outsourcing.
What I'm saying is
We are
this.
talking of when you look at a typical business that is struggling, that is having challenges. Out of these 3 interconnected pillars, which one break first? Which one is the first
Okay,
hit?
let me put it this way. If I have the opportunity to take a loan or take equity or whatever, and I
We
take
don't.
it, I don't have the customer
Just a
to
second more,
patronize.
please. We don't have the time. Just one
Yeah,
second.
yeah,
Just one answer.
yes.
We don't have
Who
the
pick
time.
customer? Who
We
pick
really run
customer
out.
over anything? Who pick customer over anything? If I have the customer to buy my products, okay, then I have what it takes to get facility. Okay, I also have
I
what it takes
understand.
to
I
hire
understand your
capacity.
perspective. I think we will just leave that question. I understand your perspective, but where I'm coming from is that before you have customer, you must have
Mhm.
established a product or you have a service.
So that's not
Something
the
must
cash
have
flow. That's the capacity, man. I have a
not
product.
capacity alone. No.
It's part of
Okay, I
it.
think that's a subject for another time because the time is far gone. So maybe as a parting shot, just 1 second, just 1 second, as a parting shot, what would your advice be to business leaders that are listening to us today?
I said to everybody, when you want to go fast, you go alone. But when you want to go far, you need a company. You need the right company to go with. You need the right collaboration. You need the right customers. You need the right cash flow, and you need the right competence. That'll be my parting shot, man.
Thank you very much. I have to appreciate you highly, even though we have this disturbance of network. Despite that fact, you have shared great insight on this topic today, and I like to appreciate you very much, dear guest speaker. Just to intimate you, while you were on, some people joined us. Taiwo Ojo from Abuja, she even contributed, confirming some of the things we said about customers, concentration of customer that can make them to become a dictator. And then Kola Olaito also contributed. We thank you all. Then we have Taiwo Oshisonya, something like that joined us from Lagos. I'm seeing a name, I don't know. What's the name? Kubia Bola. Well, there's a contribution when the cash flow is bad. There's a problem with the business. If you have customer and they are not paying at the right time, the cash flow suffers, and this affects the growth of the business. Thank you very much for that contribution. We are really running out of time. I quickly have to do a wrap up now. We thank all those that have joined us. Once again, appreciation for our special guest of today, Bukunola Akinmoladun. Thank you for your time. We have learned that stability is not accidental. It is built deliberately through disciplined cash flow management, strategic customer development, and strengthened operational capacity. To everyone watching, don't just chase growth. This year is not necessarily about aggressive expansion, it may be about reinforcement, strengthening and reinforcing your foundation, rebuilding reserves, refining customer strategy, upgrading system stability is not boring. Stability is powerful. Stability gives you options, and businesses with options survive shock. Once again, I thank you all. And if you have enjoyed today's show, please share with a friend or anyone in your community. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Comfort Eyitayo. And once you have done, please turn on the notification button and like and share videos. Stay updated with information on my Instagram account at Comfort Eyitayo, as well as my Facebook account at Comfort Eyitayo. Till I come your way again, let's stay steady, stay strategic, and keep building wisely. Next week edition is going to be dedicated to women as well as our men supporters. So it's International Women's Day next Sunday. I hope you join us. Thank you very much. God bless.